Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Real Estate Disruptors. Today we got Ivo Draginov, am I saying that right?
Correct.
With Higher Offer, and he's here to share how he's flipped over 200 houses and wholesales 8 to 10 houses per month. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm Steve Trang, broker, owner of Stunning Homes Realty, co-founder of the Offer Fast app, the one app you need for wholesaling, and I help people become real estate entrepreneurs. If you're excited for today's show, please give me a wave, give me a thumbs up, and before we get started, I did start the show because I wanted to give back to our community. I've had a lot of struggle when I first started. I'm sure you faced some struggles when you started. And what we want to do is shortcut that struggle for as many young leaders as possible. I don't charge a dime for this show. I don't make any money doing this. So here's all I ask. This is what it costs you to listen to the show. If you get value out of the show, please tell a friend. Either share the episode now, tag a friend below, or tell them your best takeaway from the show later on. That way we can all grow together. Don't forget, this is a live show. Please don't hesitate to ask questions throughout, and Ivo will be happy to answer them for you. You ready?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay, so first question, what got you into real estate?
It's a good question. So my real estate journey started in 2007. I got my real estate license right before finishing high school.
Wow.
I fixed and flipped my first house with a buddy of mine. That was 2008 in April, I think we bought it. We literally did the work ourselves on the house. We borrowed some money from my parents, sold it 4 months later, ended up netting $26,000, I believe, split up the profits. And then I bought my second house by myself. Bought that one for like $43,000. That's when the market basically corrected.
Right.
Sold it on 31st of December. I ended up netting about $18,000, and from then on I just started picking up more and more properties. So I've been basically fixing and flipping mostly part-time from 2008 up until 2015. 2015, I bought a property in July from a local very well-known wholesaler. And the funny thing is I noticed on the settlement statement there's 2 assignment fees. So I'm like, what is this assignment fee? I'm calling the title company and they're like, well, they're technically buying the house for this much. They're reselling it to you for this much. So I'm like, so they're making like, there's 15,000 assignment fees and I'm buying it for, let's say 120, I think it was. And which got me thinking, So, I mean, I ended up selling the house. I made about, 20,000+ on it. But it took me 5 months to, renovate it and resell it. And we had the deal fall through. So we had another offer. So it took a long time. A little bit after that, I started listening to a lot of podcasts, Bigger Pockets. One of the podcasts that I started listening to in June, July of 2016 was Sean Terry. Yeah. Flip to Freedom. So started listening to him. And funny thing is he had an event coming up in Glendale, Extreme Freedom.
Great
so
event.
Great
event. I've been to one.
Awesome. So I'm like, just go check it out. It's $300. I can't lose anything.
Yeah.
So I brought my sister Annie to the event, and it sounded like just super easy. You buy a list, you mail it, you take the phone call, get the deal, resell it.
That's all you have to do.
That's all you have to do. So, I did that. First thing, like after the event, I literally posted on Craigslist. We buy houses. I got a call literally the next day.
Really?
A guy. He's super motivated. Hey, I just got out of prison. I need to sell this house. I'm like, great. I'll meet you at the house. I meet him there. We sign the contract, and I'm thinking this is like a $80,000 profit. I'm like, this is super easy.
There were no reservations. The fact that he just got out of prison.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we opened escrow. It was like a lot of title issues with this property. It was like my first property, my first basically wholesale type of deal. So it was just a lot of title issues. He assigned it to a brother, to a wife. They divorced. They're just the mess.
Yeah.
So long story short, couldn't get the deal closed. We had to cancel on it. But then obviously, we started doing direct mail, and that was like our first marketing source. We started doing direct mail. And then slowly we, got into other types of marketing, cold calling. And cold calling just recently we got into it. So, but at the moment, that's kind of just in a nutshell, that's my real estate fixing, flipping, and wholesale journey. And then I've also been picking up some rental properties along the way.
Okay. So one question I want to ask you, because, you have a lot of you've done over 200 houses flipping, and right now you're wholesaling 8 to 10 houses per month. So why don't you help someone that's newer into the business? If they're trying to decide whether to flip or wholesale first, what would you, or which do you like better? Which direction would you push people into?
I mean, at the moment, I'll say wholesaling just because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
But and so my business right now is primarily wholesaling.
Yeah.
And part of it, like last year, it was a different case. This year, like July, we sold our last 2 fix and flips, and I don't have any more besides some new constructions that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the market, especially in Phoenix, is just tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making the same amount, if not more, than if I was to just fix and flip the property.
Right.
So my first choice would be wholesaling, but it's got its own challenges as well, obviously.
So what are the challenges in wholesaling versus the challenges of flipping?
I mean, wholesaling, you're in the marketing business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I did know that. At the Extreme Freedom event, I was thinking it's just an extension of what I'm already doing. It's just I'm going to pick it up for cheaper. I'm going to get a bigger spread at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just 2 completely separate businesses, what I've learned along the way.
Right.
And, kind of the things that we've struggled with kind of throughout is how much of my time do I dedicate to fixing and flipping and then wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fine balance that we got to keep, but at the end of the day I would just recommend wholesaling. I mean, especially in this market.
Yeah. Well,
so it's a little bit too risky.
You say especially this market. What do you mean about especially this market? What does that mean exactly?
I mean, obviously prices are skyrocketing,
Mm-hmm.
and inventory is low, and just we get a deal, we wholesale it, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get first-time flippers. I try to educate them as much as I can.
Yeah.
But the reality is, a lot of our buyers are first-time fix and flippers,
Mm-hmm.
and
so you're saying the reason why you're saying that, particularly in this market, is that the margins
are low.
The margins are lower,
Yeah.
and it's you're not 100% confident that it's going to keep appreciating the rate it's appreciating at. Because appreciation hides a lot of mistakes.
Correct. Absolutely. And I just think it's just it's just riskier at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the market corrects and I'm holding on to 11 fix and flips, like in December of last year, we had 11 properties on the books, fix and flips,
Mm-hmm.
we were reselling. And I mean, obviously I don't see the market correcting in the next couple of months, but
Right.
when it does, I'd rather be wholesaling.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we got a good friend of ours, and he says you're like a robot. You just find ways to make things happen. And I thought that was kind of funny. And we talked about you and I at a different event that you've got so many licenses. What are all the different licenses you have?
Yeah, so the reason why I was like kind of working part-time in real estate in 2010 to
Mm-hmm.
2015, it was my dad's construction company. It was an air conditioning plumbing company. We kind of morphed it into like a general contracting company as well.
Okay.
So we have, electrical, plumbing, AC, both residential and commercial, and 2 KB1 and KB2, which are general contracting licenses.
Yeah. So if there's anything comes up, if I call Ivo, he could
Yeah.
probably fix it.
Yeah, maybe. I'll give you good advice on how to fix it. Yeah.
Okay. So knowing what you know today, what will you do differently in your business?
As far as the wholesaling goes, I would find a mentor before. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially getting started. And I actually did that in the wholesaling. So like my second year, I found a mentor. It wasn't the right guy.
Okay.
It just, I paid him the money. We talked on the phone. Just the value that I didn't get any value out of him, quite honestly.
Okay.
The wrong person.
So not just finding the mentor, finding the
finding
right mentor.
the right mentor. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that mentor has to give you certain value. I mean, he's got to give you value at the end of the day. And then obviously the other like advice would be just burn your bridges behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Because options can kill anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
So for me, I had passive income in real estate, even like at the Extreme Freedom event.
Mm-hmm.
But I told myself, look, I'm gonna make this work. If this guy Sean Terry is making it work, I'll make it work as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of time. I may not pick up traction as, let's say, it may take me a certain amount of time to pick up traction, but I'll make it work.
Yeah.
So I told myself there's no way behind. I mean, there's no way going back. So.
Okay. So, dang, you said something I wanted to address. Okay, we'll get to it later. So, what bits of wisdom would you give some of the young guys right now that are getting into wholesaling? Because we're we're pulling back the curtains a little bit. That's one of the, the goals of the program, is to educate the young people on how to do it, or not necessarily young, but newer people. What are some of the bits of wisdom you give to the guys getting into the business right now?
I think it goes back to just finding the right mentor, joining a mastermind, which is like huge. I mean, the mastermind that we're in, I mean, it's opened up so many doors for me personally. Just the connections that I've made in it, it's priceless.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, just burning your bridges,
So going back to that, you were saying that the mentor wasn't the right mentor. How
Correct.
did you know they weren't the right mentor so that someone could avoid that mistake?
I mean, it's tough. You got to do your homework, and I think you got to just, me personally, it's one of my kind of faults where I literally decide to do something, and then like I'm doing it in the next hour. So that was kind of
a fault.
It's
it's a personality trait of an entrepreneur.
Correct. Yeah. So I didn't do my homework on it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I just literally, it was just a phone call. I'm doing it. That's it.
So you just signed up.
Correct.
Okay. And the value you got out of it didn't line up with what you paid for it.
Correct.
And would you sign like a contract, or was it?
It was a one-time fee basically for the whole year. I mean.
Okay.
So. Like I said, I mean, I've learned so much more just hanging out with, a group of, guys like in the Go Giver group where I'm just gaining much more value. And
okay. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of value to that. And I think maybe that's something we need to create a program for, is like what some questions to ask in mentoring. Because I'm seeing this theme, a lot of people saying they're having a hard time finding the right mentor. What would you attribute your success to?
I think my work ethic primarily, and I picked that up from my dad. I mean, I think like what Gary Vee says, I may not be the, let's say the brightest or the smartest, but I will outwork everybody. And I think that's kind of served me well in life.
Yeah.
And I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning. I mean, I make myself get up regardless of what time I went to sleep. And I just have a much better productive day if I get my work done in the morning. And that's just how I've always been.
So if I need anything from you, I can text you at 5 o'clock in the morning.
You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe this is what Brent was talking about when he said you're a robot. if you want something, you just make it. Okay. And what does your organization look like today at Higher Offer?
So it's me, my sister, who's the operations. She kind of keeps everything together because I'm kind of all over the place.
Well, you're the quick decision maker.
I'm
without
the quick
research.
decision maker, correct. Yeah. So she has to slow me down at times.
Yeah.
And then right now we have 2 acquisitions, a leads manager. We have 8 cold callers and then 2 virtual assistants. Okay.
And the cold callers, are they local? Are they overseas?
They're overseas, and I have a disposition person as well.
Okay. So is there a particular region you like to source your wholesale your cold callers from?
We've tried. I have some from the Philippines, some from Costa Rica, and a couple from Mexico.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just honestly split testing some things right now. So just figuring out what works better for me. At the end of the day, what's my ROI on the money that I spend, the money that I get back.
And you got KPIs for each one of these?
Correct.
Cold callers?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that Max and I were talking about is we need to get a quality control person, because we have cold callers, but we're not listening to all the cold calls.
And it's
kind of
tough.
spot check every once in a while.
It's tough. I mean, you can't listen to it. I mean, it's not my day job to just listen to everybody's conversation.
Yeah.
But you pick out some conversations and you do the best you can. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And how are you sourcing your deals right now?
Direct mail has always worked for us. I mean, people say obviously price, cost per deal has gone up drastically. I think when we started, we were about, I don't want to say maybe 2,500, 3,000. Now, last month we were at about 5,400. We lowered it down to 4,800. We closed some deals. So
cost per deal. Cost per deal.
Yeah, 4,800.
4,800.
Correct. Direct mail. So, and that's probably about 25 to 30% of our deals. We used to mail about 30,000 plus mailers a month. Now we're down to about 15,000 a month.
Okay.
And what we're doing is just targeting people better.
Right.
List stacking, obviously, if they have multiple pain points, those are the people that we're going after. Cold calling has been like a big thing, and obviously Brent Daniels is TTP.
Yeah.
I was basically getting into cold calling, and then basically Brent kind of pushed me over the edge.
Yeah.
And that's been like a big contributor to our deals, especially the past couple months.
Okay.
I think we struggled a little bit gaining traction with the cold calling side because we had some acquisition people, change job positions, and we didn't have the right people in the right seats beginning of the year. And we've made some obviously progress, and the past 4 months it's been working great.
Okay. So I think one of the things you kind of mentioned there was stacking. And that's an interesting concept. Can you elaborate what stacking means?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the software we use, Property List Manager, which just gives us the ability to upload any kind of data, any kind of list in there. So I go and select, okay, so I want everybody who's on tax for tax default plus foreclosures, plus it's a vacant property. I mean, you can go like very granular. I mean, for instance, like I'll say 3 days ago, I pulled a list. I have about 700,000, 800,000 people in Phoenix area. We pulled a list, so all the vacant properties and basically deceased, people that are deceased with vacant properties. There's about 200 of them in my system.
So very targeted list.
That's a very targeted list, correct.
Yeah. I was talking to my best friend over the weekend, and he was saying, like, why do I keep getting these freaking cold callers? I'm getting a call every other day. I'm getting text messages, ringless voicemails. He doesn't call it ringless voicemails. It's like, I'm getting these stupid voicemails, right? And he's like, why is this happening? And I kind of started laughing. It's like, okay, well, you moved out of state, so you're in California now. And you have high equity. You paid your house off.
Yeah.
So now you're a high equity out of state.
Does he pay his taxes or?
So he did miss a payment, and so now he can't even get off that list. He's like, what do I do to get off that list? Like, sorry, you're on that list forever.
For the next year at least.
Okay, so REI Squad, what is that about?
Yeah, so we partnered up with, so me, Annie, and Jesse Burrell partnered up, and we're basically providing a real estate like resource, especially for people that are in the industry, like new in the industry, or they've been in the industry for a while. Just a resource company. We're going to have a bunch of softwares coming out, and that's primarily been my what I've been kind of focused on the past month, just really building out softwares.
Yeah.
Which is like 3 months ago, I wouldn't have, predicted, what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So it's we have some softwares coming out, for voicemails and SMS, and we do a lot of skip tracing for people. So, and I think we can compete with people on price just because we're committing to like very large volumes with our distributors.
Yeah. Okay. And if they want to find out more about REI Squad, how do they find out about that?
REI Squad, the website should be up in about a week.
Okay. So when you download this episode next week,
correct,
from today, REISquad.com.
REISquad.com.
Okay. And then I heard something interesting about how you're acquiring rental properties. So what's your process for that?
Bigger Pockets taught me how to do it. It was like 2000. Actually, I picked up some properties 2012, paid them cash. Prices were cheap back then. I picked up a lot of them, 55 to like 65,000.
Wow.
And in 2015, 16, when I started listening to like Bigger Pockets, I'm like, okay, so I can technically refinance all of these properties, get my equity out, and buy more properties, and just keep doing that and repeating it. It was what they call the BRRRR method.
Right.
So I started doing that. So 2015, I believe it was, 2015, I refinanced my properties, 3 of them. The 4th one I kept. It was a commercial building that I had, so couldn't refinance that one.
Buying everything.
Correct. And I just started, I bought 11 properties, I think, in 2015, and then this year I've bought 4 or 5 more.
Okay.
So
this year?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
a couple of them out of state.
Okay.
So one in Cleveland, one in 2 in Denver, not Denver, Detroit.
Okay, a little bit different.
Yeah. And then I have one that I'm refinancing as we speak right now.
Okay.
And then we were doing a little bit of like, kind of, besides the rental properties, we're doing a little bit of like new construction type of things. So we've built 3 houses. We just bought a vacant lot. We could have wholesaled it, honestly. Made, I think, 8,000-9,000 on it. It was a small spread. But we just decided to keep it and build on it. And I think we'll make a lot more, building a brand new house.
So let's talk about that. So what's involved? I mean, obviously it's great that you get all these different licenses, right? But let's just say I'm brand new and I want to build on a piece of land. What's involved in that?
It's a lot of things, and it's, at the same time, I'm still learning a lot of it. I know I've gone through like 3 houses by now, so I can cut through a lot of the red tape. But I would say, for biggest lesson I learned, don't go to the city yourself to get the licenses, because I've done that. And I've been there like literally, maybe 15, 20 times just for one house, and it's a nightmare. Wow. So just get an architect, just pay for it, and get your licenses. Get your permits. As far as the construction side, I'm basically the general contractor. I license. I just hire subcontractors to do the majority of work. And we've had some people that have worked for us from the fix and flip side that actually they work on an hourly basis. We pay them at the end of the week, $10.99, but they work strictly for us. Okay. And obviously that helps us with our costs a little bit. Yeah.
So you buy the land, then you get an architect, and I'm assuming there's sewer and electrical at the street level on these properties.
It depends which lot you buy. So one of my nightmares is kind of like one of the biggest issues that I've had is we bought a vacant lot. We bought it from a guy. He had a power of attorney for his mom. His mom was like in her 80s, 90s. We ended up splitting the lot, doing a lot split. It wasn't approved by the city, but the city said everything is in the process of getting approved. It's going to take about 2 to 3 months, but everything is signed. So we're like, okay, we'll just buy it. We bought the vacant lot with the contingency that it's going to get split. Long story short, 4 months later, the city comes back and says one document was signed, but it was supposed to be notarized. And we go back to the original owner, and the mom has passed away. The guy's power of attorney is no longer valid, so now it has to go to probate. Geez. So that took like a huge amount of time. We got the city deputy directors involved. It was just like a nightmare dealing with. So for that house, we had to literally tear out half the street, put new sewer, new water lines, and then basically repave half the street, about 300 linear feet. And do a sidewalk, curb and gutter, which was something that I haven't done before.
It probably added a little bit to the cost.
It did, about 60,000.
60,000? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, and then you got a lender in place then to fund the acquisition of the land, the costs, dealing with the city, construction costs. What's that? Yeah,
for the lender, we pay it ourselves at the moment. I mean, we're kind of. We fund the properties ourselves. Same, like we've actually started doing a little bit of hard money loans on some properties that we wholesale. We provide the funds. So
you're in hard money lending now too.
We've done a few loans. Yeah. But like I said, not anything. Just properties that we wholesale.
Okay. All right. And what CRM tools or systems could you not live without?
We've been going back and forth. We've changed a couple of CRMs since we've started. System that we currently use is Investor PO. Property List Manager is a big one. And those are the two primarily ones that we use, as far as marketing.
About Property List Manager.
And I mentioned it earlier, like list stacking. So I would basically, just upload everything, and I'd pick, okay, I want everybody who's on multiple lists, and those are the people that we're going to be targeting. And I think that's what kind of revamped our direct mail campaigns, because at the beginning of the year, January, February, we were mailing literally 20, 25, 30,000. I think February we had no deals from direct mail. And so March, I'm like, okay, something's got to change. And that's when we started cold calling, and it took a couple of months for us to kind of, perfect that. Yeah.
And what's Investor Peel, or what'd you call that?
Investor Peel, that's a CRM that we use. It's a Podio-based system.
Okay.
So just the CRM.
That's different than Investor Fuse or
FreedomSoft. Same. I mean, a lot of the functionalities are the same.
Yeah.
It's just that's what we use at the moment.
Okay. Any interesting war stories in your business?
I think the biggest one, honestly, is we've had. I've walked personally into a bunch of houses where I thought were vacant, especially back in the day when I used to buy more auction properties. So house looks vacant. It's tall weeds, boarded up windows. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go and see it, before I bid on it. And people show up from inside the house, which can be, pretty scary at times.
Coming out of the closets?
Coming out of the bedrooms, and yeah. I remember one guy. He's like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing in my house?" So it was, I was out of there. So,
Okay. Well, the good thing is it's probably a statute of limitations on breaking and entering. So that's okay.
But one of the biggest war stories, obviously, is that the new vacant lot that we built, and but everything ended up turning great. It just took a year and a half, quite honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was supposed to take 6 to 8 months, and it took a year and a half.
Okay. What is your biggest struggle right now?
I think my biggest struggle is finding a balance sometimes
Mm-hmm.
and disconnecting from work. Personally,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my kind of thing, because I'm always like working, and
Mhm.
it's, sometimes it gets difficult to disconnect. And
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to your strength, right? So it's
correct.
it's your strength and your weakness.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
So work-life balance.
Yeah. That's probably one of the biggest things that I'm trying to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I've really implemented lately is just kind of time blocking, which has worked great for me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially kind of getting in the routine. I wake up 5 o'clock, walk the dog, and then I get to work. Pretty much, just some gratitude to get to work, and I just focus on what like my one thing for the day.
Yeah.
Or one thing at least for the next 3-4 hours.
Right. One thing I had coffee with Gavin Timms this week,
Okay.
and he sits down. He's got 2 phones. I said, Gavin, what's this about? He said, I got my work phone, and I got my personal phone. And he says because he's got his work phone and his personal phone, it's easier to disconnect, because his work phone, once he gets home, that just gets put away. But
That's
the personal
an interesting
phone,
idea. Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was a really good idea.
I got to call Gavin, actually. He called me yesterday.
But I thought that was a pretty cool idea. Maybe something I got to practice. He said the only struggle with that is sometimes he'll get stuck on Facebook with his personal phone.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your superpower?
I think honestly just cutting through the red tape and getting
Mhm.
the deal done. I think that's kind of what I'm just tell me what I got to do, and let's get this deal finished.
All right.
Same thing though, like that first house that I mentioned that was supposed to end up netting us like 70,000, 80,000, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't follow up on it myself, because 2 title companies told us it was we can't make it work.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too many. There's some lawsuits involved. Some with the property, just can't get it done. Long story short, like a year later, a guy here from Phoenix, a wholesale company,
Mm-hmm.
contacts us, and he's like, "Hey, you guys have a memorandum on this property
Mm-hmm.
from a year ago, and we're in the process of closing on it." I'm like, "How are you guys closing on so long?" They basically got an attorney involved. They had Eileen Brown, who was closing the deal.
Mm-hmm.
They just got the deal closed. I mean, we ended up making a little bit of money just because of our memorandum
Right.
back then, but it was a huge profit for them as well. And that's something that I should have followed up on, and I didn't.
So why don't you explain to everybody what a memorandum is?
So just a memorandum, it just gives us the right. We have contractual obligations for this property,
Mhm.
and sometimes sellers unfortunately want to cancel because let's say they got a higher offer
Mm-hmm.
after signing a contract with us, and just our memorandum just protects us from,
Okay.
from
And
them.
how would you go about filing one of those?
It's a 1-page document. Annie does it, so
Mhm.
she goes to the counter, fills it out, goes to the county recorders, records their contract, and it's pretty seamless process.
Okay. And guys, don't forget this is a live show, so if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. What is the greatest lesson that you have learned?
Greatest lesson that I've learned, just keep pushing it. I mean, sometimes you're going to struggle in life
Mhm.
with whatever you're doing, but just keep pushing it and you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
Like me personally, it took me a little bit of while to kind of gain traction as far as the wholesaling side goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's working now. Things are working.
Right.
It's just building yourself as well. I mean, just continuously learning, and just being the best that you can be.
Right. So I think grit is something that we've talked about before. So I don't know. Is there a way you could instill that in somebody?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I was just brought up just obviously work hard, and you're gonna achieve what you want.
Mm-hmm.
My summers I spent most of my summers I spent working.
Yeah.
So, and even as a kid, so that just got carried to my adult
Right.
life.
It was just built into you.
Correct.
You didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian wants to know, what's the best marketing strategy you do?
So we're dabbling into, like I said, some softwares which I think are going to help us like lower a lot of our costs, and we're just we're actually beta testing a couple of them. So if you want access, just contact me. But it's for right now, our biggest ROI comes from ringless voicemail. I mean, we're at about, I think last week I looked at it, we're at about 1900% ROI, which is insane. I mean, as far as our direct mail is like 300%.
I'll take 1900%. Yeah. That's pretty good. So, okay. So why don't you elaborate? Like, what are the softwares that you're creating?
The softwares that we're creating is we're creating basically like a legal SMS marketing software. That comes with a lot of like a different functionality, voice broadcasts, ringless voicemails. We're also kind of integrating everything with skip tracing. So it should allow investors to like really lower their costs, marketing costs. I mean, we spend, $25,000+ a month on marketing, and it's, especially direct mail, that's like our biggest monthly spend.
Any thoughts about backing that off since you're seeing a higher ROI on the?
I've tripled down on my ringless voicemails.
Right.
And that was just 2 weeks ago.
So you're gonna do more ringless voicemails, but you're not necessarily backing out your.
I'm not backing out of direct mail. I mean, it's still working. It's still performing for us.
Okay.
And we're actually implementing some new strategies with the direct mail, which, I can. Honestly, I don't even know. Kind of how to explain it, but it's basically direct mail with a text message type of.
Okay.
System.
Andy's probably the one I got to talk to then.
Yeah.
What is the name of the ringless voicemail program?
It's going to be ringlessvoiceleads.com.
Okay. Cool. And what are you learning right now?
I'm learning how to be a better manager and how to balance my life more.
How are you learning that?
Books primarily. I try to read a lot of books. I want to say I read a book a week, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So, but
that's really good.
I try to do 25 to 30 books a year.
Wow. Okay. Any books that you're into right now that's helping you with the work-life balance or the managing?
So one of the last books that I read was I forgot the book's name actually. So one like the last books that actually really made an impact on me was The Go-Giver. I mean, that book I just had a mind shift with that book. Right. Super short read. Just had a big impact on me.
Yeah, and that was one of the ones that book. Brandon Simmons, he's like, hey,
he's the one that gave it to me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he said you need to read this book, and I'm reading it, and this is right after I started this podcast, but I think it was law number 2. Like, you got to give to as many people as possible and help as many people as possible. If you're trying to generate wealth and so on, you have to help more people, and that was a great reminder of what we're trying to do here on the show. Anthony Redmond wants to know, what do your cold callers say when they reach a seller?
So it's just a script. Just reach out to me. I'll send it to you. It's basically, hey, hey, my name is Ivo. I work for Higher Offer. We're buying a house in the area. Just wanted to see if you had an interest in a cash offer. And then it basically goes from yes or no, and then maybe, and then it just follows the script. We've changed it up a little bit. I think Brent has a great script as well. We've changed ours a little bit to better suit our needs as far as even our CRM goes. Because we found out a lot of the leads, at the end of the day, a lot of them are going to be junk leads. Right. People that want, 300% above retail. So we're just
Zillow plus 50K.
Zillow plus 50K. Yeah. And it's just trying to eliminate a lot of these and focus on the better ones. So we've just kind of gone through a couple of changes,
to sift data better. Okay. And same follow-up to that question is, how do they hand that off to your acquisitions?
So our CRM, basically, as soon as they click a hot lead, it goes into our CRM. And then our leads manager, she goes through like a deal triage type of thing. She looks at depending on what the notes are. Sometimes we get a lot of notes. Sometimes, obviously, we don't have a lot of notes. We have the seller's name, address, and let's say he may be interested in an offer. So those, if she's not sure, she's gonna call them. Hey, just calling to get some little bit more information. Just kind of tell you what we do, how we do it, just kind of setting the expectations right. However, if there is a lot of notes in the system, and she can determine there's motivation based on if the property is vacant, if they're out of state, what value they want for the property, and compare it to like our CRM, does automatic calculations. She's gonna pass it off to the acquisitions, and that's our leads manager. Her job is to basically distribute the lead to our acquisitions and to follow up, and she does a lot of follow-ups. I mean, she does like 350 phone calls every week.
Oh wow, okay. And then Brian Davila wants to know, what do you think is the best wholesale or REI training course?
There's a lot. I mean, I've gone through, the one that got me started was Sean Terry's, course. After Sean Terry's course, I've picked up a couple more courses, which, I've learned some things. But at the end of the day, for me, I've learned the most in masterminds.
Yeah,
just
so
being
from other peers.
Being around the right people.
But it's pretty hard if you're newer to hang around those people.
Correct, but then there's like the meetups. I mean, you go and you meet people, and you just talk to people.
Yeah, and guys, if you're in the Phoenix area, I do the Real Estate Disruptors meetup first Thursday of every month. So if nothing else, you can learn from that. Okay, what was your favorite, best, or most interesting failure?
It goes back to that house. I have, it's just...
It's just in the back of your mind.
It's just in the back of my mind.
You're never going to recover.
It's. We're actually closing on the property. So one of them I actually.
Oh, you still haven't closed yet.
Myself. One of them I moved into it myself. The other one we're selling. We're closing on the 25th. We're gonna end up netting close to 6 figures, which is awesome.
Cool.
But it was a difficult process.
Yeah. Okay. And Anthony wants to know, what's the best way for them to get that cold caller script from you?
Just reach out to me on Facebook.
Okay.
Either I'll send it to you or have my VA send it to you.
Awesome. Is there any one book that you've gifted more than any other?
I've given the book to several people. It's called Why. It starts with Why.
Yeah.
I think it was called. So it's a great book.
Yeah, Simon Sinek.
I've given it to a few people. I think the Goal Giver, again, is a book that everybody should read. Anybody, like, the book that got me started in real estate, obviously, is, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, everyone.
I read that book in 2008, I want to say 2009, and then I reread it 2 years ago.
Yeah. And do you feel like it was still as helpful?
Correct.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just, it gets you refocused. I mean, it just...
Right.
It's a great book.
Okay. And then why do you think... a lot of people fail in the wholesale flipping part of the business?
Just giving up too easily.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be struggles. Like I said, that we've had, a lot of properties. Not a lot of properties, but some properties that we, close. There's title issues.
Yeah.
I can think back in July of this year, we were supposed to be closing on 3 properties in a week, and literally all of those deals kind of fell through. I mean, 2 of them fell through. One of them, we just literally made $1,000 on it.
Yeah.
But then obviously next week, more deals closed, and it just kind of comes and goes. And
right.
Just don't give up.
Yeah, and I think also the importance, right, of having a good pipeline.
Yeah.
Because deals will blow up.
Correct.
Things die in the last minute.
Yeah, and valuable lesson that I've learned, especially in the wholesale game, is like don't count the money until it's house is closed, because I've done we're making X amount of money on the house.
Money spent already, booking vacations.
But and then the deal ends up falling through.
Yeah,
it just happens.
Okay, is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Just issues with deals. I mean, they shouldn't, but sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Just obviously problems. I'm constantly trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next tomorrow to correct what happened today, let's say, if there is some issues. And I'm constantly analyzing things in my head. What am I doing next? And sometimes if I get a new idea, I can't sleep because I gotta implement it today.
I've got that same exact problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I got something, it's like, oh, this is gonna be really cool, or this is gonna change the world. It doesn't, but in your mind, I'm gonna implement this. This is gonna change everything. Can't sleep that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that about once a quarter.
And then I can't sleep, and then I get up early so I can actually start working on it, and it's.
Yeah. So, okay. I know I've asked you kind of this already. So, someone wants to get a hold of you. They either want to ask you a question. Annie's already done a pretty good job responding about the script. So, if someone wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
Just Facebook.
Yeah.
Or my email is my first and last name at Gmail.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Perfect. Let's see. So Anthony wants to know which company you use for cold callers, but you hire them yourself, right? Or do you outsource?
I outsource it. I used to hire them myself.
Okay.
And it just got a little bit difficult. Part of what you said, you got to manage everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had 3 cold callers that I think in March and April. And it just got a little bit too much for me to be able to handle what I was currently doing, in my business, and then managing the cold callers, making sure they're, listening to the recordings, they're following the scripts, and it just got too much.
Yeah.
Then I have to pay them and verify their time. I just decided to outsource it.
So who do you outsource through?
I don't know. Actually, just reach out to me. I'll send you the company's name.
Okay. All right. So that's it, guys. Again, if you like this show, please share this episode right now. And next week we got Eric Sage coming on, and he's going to be talking about seller carry and how to. I mean, the stuff he's talking about really changed the way I'm thinking about the business, but how you can seller carry and create passive income where you can basically just travel and vacation whenever you want.
Great guy.
Awesome stuff. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, guys. And thank you for a great show.
Thank you.